Most registries have a 3R model. There's the guy who wants the domain, who is the client. There's the guy who offers that service to the client, which is the registrar. And there's the guy who actually has that service, which is the registry. So most registries don't sell directly to the client. I think what we've done, his question actually is very key for most registrars, because what you find, and it's good that you mentioned it, is that you normally have to, for me to accept orders from a lot of clients who want the orders, I need to also have a lot of money at my registry so that the order is automated. So he raises a very valid conversation, because, for example, for some registries, you just choose to hold the order until you've received a payment and forward the same. Because if you need to automate with every registry, then you really need a lot of money. And I think that AFRIREGISTER maybe can give us a better model, since they are in 20 countries. What we have mainly been looking at is how the end user who needs their name, how that process can be simplified. I think also maybe here we need to look at also how the process between us and the registries is also simplified, and I think that's something that I don't think we've been able to deal with before, but it's definitely a concern. So yeah, I hope that demystifies the process. No? Nilak?
It's okay. If you guys haven't gotten it, they'll ask more questions.
Okay.
Mark, how about you?
Sorry, so to the gentleman from Nigeria, it's not that we've bypassed COCA, it's what we've automated is the process between the person who wants the domain, us who offer it to him, getting that, once we've received the order, the process between us and the registry is also automated. So that's what we build an API for. Does that make sense?
So in that case, what was the role of registrar? Your registrar.
Yes. So our role was to do. Okay. So basically,
you are registry.
Yes.
And you made mention of the registrant.
Yes.
So what's the role of registrar?
Okay. Let me tell you what the process was before. Okay. If you needed a .ke before, you would come to my site. You would say, I want it. Now, as he said before, normally we had the same. I think in Morocco I had someone used to receive faxes and stuff like that. You would receive the names you want. So you would take those names, log in to the registry, search for them, give the client which options are available. And then once they have paid you, so you have a system that maybe generates that, so your accountant does a quotation or something. So we killed that process in two ways. On our end, the receiving the order, we made that possible for a client. However, how can that client search if there's nothing that connects your system with the registry? So we developed that API, and that's now standard across all registrars. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay.
Let me sorry.
Try answer.
A technical guy.
I'm not a technical guy, but I can actually try and explain. Actually, I don't know. I'm just trying to explain his English. So there are three people. There's a customer looking for a domain. Okay. There's a registrar, and there's a registry. What the registry did is automate the process that the registrar can get the service they offer. At the end of the day, the registry is seated down and doing their work, which is to make sure, the domains are up and everything. Now, the registrar goes out to sell. When they sell, you need to be able to answer the customer. Is this domain available? Yes. I have paid. Can I get it? Yes. the registry automated the process, the registrar who is out selling, to be able to do those two things, search and then register once the customer has paid. All right.
It's okay. Thank you.
Now, can we do or?
Yes. That's fine.
I think I've understood the problem. You are saying the same things in different languages.
Yes.
Dr. NG,
The translator is.
he sits there with two hats. He is the board chair of keNIC, so he's talking as a registry, and he's also the board chair of the Association of Registrars.
Okay.
So that's why he mixes his information as registry and then changes his cap as registrar. Understood?
Yeah.
Great.
So that's why when I introduced Kariba, I specifically said he wears two hats. He's the chair of DREC, the Domain Registrars Association of Kenya, and he is also a board member of keNIC. But also, having said that, I think it's important for registrars to be very involved in ensuring that there's the right ecosystem, there's the right technology platform to help end customers, because we are there to serve end customers. If you think you're there as a registrar just because you like how you type on your computer or you're a good coder, then I think we will have a problem. Would you agree with me? Great. Do we have... No, you will need to sit now, otherwise you're taking over my session. If you have any more questions, I can assure you this gentleman and myself are available after this. We can have a conversation over a drink or mnazi or whatever else you drink in Dar es Salaam. Do we have some more questions and queries?
Can I take this three?
Yes, Prof. Okay.
I think what we are saying is that the practice between registrar and registry is different. It's bulk. So payment is for bulk. Okay? But the relationship between the registrant and registrar is on, okay? So the normal payment gateway works very well for that. The bulk one also, if you have a good payment gateway, I can use it to deposit the money.
Correct.
And then I can eat at it.
Correct.
But he is telling you that if he deposits the money with you, he's locked up his cash.
Okay, so that now is
a different model for addressing that issue.
Okay, so that is going to be addressed, but I also get a feel that will overstep payment and go to start discussing policy and protocol and credit ratings and all that. And I can see two of my registry friends are looking at me like, what are you saying, Ali? what do you want to hear from me? We'll come to you, don't worry. Mark needs to answer some of the other questions.
It seems to be the pressing issue. So I think I want to start with that issue. It seems to be the pressing issue between. Now, I want to use a different industry to tell you how they solved that problem. The hotels. What the hotels do is that, yes, you build a big hotel, but you need customers at the end of the day. They went ahead and talked to agents, and agents sign up. When the agent signs up a customer, we agree I give you 15%. Everybody understands that model. Now, what ends up happening in that case is that you have around 20 agents. If you have 20 rooms, what do? Yeah, because at the end of the day, in one day, you need only 20 customers. When you have 20 agents, how do you manage that? So they ended up automating what they call a property management system. And that means an agent logs in to this, and whenever they want to book, they book real time. So nobody reserves room. Everybody books real time. The challenge now was, how then do I, as a hotel, when I get that booking, be assured that this payment has come through? So what they did is they got a payment gateway. I'm trying not to be a salesman. They got a payment gateway.
Mark, it's okay, because, I mean, you spent your time coming here. Others who were not invited, they decided not to come. As we say in Kiswahili, ole wao.
So what they did is they got a payment gateway that enables the hotel, when the customer pays, because the customer pays a certain amount of money, the agent and the hotel has agreed on a rate. When the customer pays the money, the agent gets their commission, the hotels get their commission in real time. And therefore, nobody needed to pre-book. Everybody books in real time. And therefore, as long as there's that kind of agreement between the agent and the hotel, everybody is real time. The customer pays, 15% goes to the provider, and the rest goes to the hotel. Now, in some cases, I remember some cases where you want to pre-qualify the customer, and therefore the payment cannot really be immediate. What happens is that when the customer pays, it goes directly to the hotel, but it raises an invoice from the agent to the hotel asking for their commission. So that as long as the hotel says, yes, we've taken this customer, the agent gets their money, the hotel gets. So it's possible to automate payments as long as it supports the relationship and agreement you have. What's more important is the agreement. The payment gateways are built to innovate around agreements. Yeah. So I hope I've given some light into that. I want to come to what he has said, the process of buying. On both cases, I think we've handled from the registrar to the registry. It can be done that way. From the customer is simple. I go to a website and I want a domain, I search. When I check this domain exists, I need it, what I do is I say I want to pay for this domain. It presents the payment options. And that means I can see Voda M-Pesa, I can see Tigo Pesa, I can see Visa, MasterCard, American Express. I choose the one I want, it presents me the instructions, I pay, it notifies the merchant immediately the payment. Is that process clear? You know, I almost feel like asking sort of a class so that we don't repeat. Is that process clear to everyone? All right.
You have a question? Can you wait and...
Oh, he needs to come here.
Okay, just come because it's a pressing issue. Is there anyone else who has a comment or questions on this particular issue? Okay, so please introduce yourself and your organization, and then we'll have the gentleman on the far side.
Lila is the deputy manager of .Masr ID ccTLD. My comment is about I can skip the online payment using banks. If I am the owner of SMS gateway, maybe I ask the registrant to send SMS to some number and receive this message inside my SMS gateway and reply to him with code. He can use this code inside my interface, web interface, to activate his domain name.
Sorry, come again.
Yeah, sometimes you receive message from a mobile service provider, yes, that you can send the message to some charity number. Mm-hmm. This message you will charge, for example, 1,000 shilling. Mm-hmm. If you send this SMS. I will build this solution using my own SMS gateway. I have the license for that. Okay, yes. And I ask my registrant to send the message that will charge from his credit, yes, around 10,000 shilling.
Yes.
If I receive this message, if the registrant sends this message SMS to my SMS gateway,
yes,
I will reply to him with code,
yes,
and he can use this code, yes, for my application, my interface to, yes, activate this domain name.
Yes, that is possible. The challenge you'll have, especially in a country like Kenya, is for you as a service provider, an SMS service provider, the commission that you will be charged to use that service is way higher than one where you're getting online payments. In Kenya, I don't know about here, but you probably be charged more, but it's possible to use the service. I'm agreeing with you.
So let's be clear. Hold on. Let us be clear. The reason why a payment gateway is important and critical is that it could address individual countries' issues on payments without necessarily you having to deal with that issue yourself. So services like what Mark has said is about what is known as consolidation. Is that the correct word? Consolidation. So you have different payment platforms that are basically plugged into one. You wanted to say something else? Good? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is coming out clear is that the issue of a payment gateway for a registry is more complicated than the issue for just a registrar. And I really need this understood so that what we're dealing with here is both issues for a registry as well as issues for a registrar. And for a registry, the issue is a little bit more complicated because they deal with the registrars. In other words, the two entities have different customer bases. You've been asking who is the customer. The characteristics of a customer for a registrar is different from the characteristics of a customer for a registry. And that's what I would like really clarified. I think that was the issue with my colleague from Nigeria. The issue was a little bit muddled.
You are correct.
I think you need to do this a little bit more, a little bit clearer.
So, if I may jump in here, you have two relationships. You have a B2B relationship, a business-to-business relationship, from a registry to a registrar, rather from a registrar to a registry. And then you have a B2C relationship, business-to-consumer relationship, the end user, that's a registrar to a registry. I mean, to an end consumer. Now, I don't know how different registries deal with this. So maybe to just resolve this very quickly, may I ask two registries to just tell us very quickly how they handle their relationship with registrars. Now, the good thing is we have one here who sort of conflicted because he's on both sides. But it would be good to hear from you on how that is dealt. And then maybe we can hear from another registry. keNIC? Yes, Habibu.
Let me intervene and let's talk on one model only. Let's talk on 3 other models so that we are at par. Otherwise, if we mix the two, we will get confused. So let's talk about the payments between registrars and registries. And then we talk about the end user or the registrant paying the registrar and not the other way around.
Agreed.
Okay, so first hat is the one. Okay, so it's good that somebody else brought it up because it's something that we've been looking to work with. Because on one end, I sit on a board where if I say, hey, we need to give our registrars credit periods or things like that, then you have a finance committee, and Abdallah knows this, that will shoot it down by the time I'm done putting the full stop on my statement. Now, on the other hand, I think for me, when I heard what he was asking and when I listened to him, in my head I was like, maybe the conversation is more from a payment gateway conversation, because at the end of the day, the registry just wants its money. My main struggle spreading across Africa now, other hat, as a registrar, is that if I'm spreading across 20, maybe the Kenyan one, or if I'm Tanzanian, the Tanzanian one knows me, so I can say, hey, we can have some. But if I'm spreading across 54, that's a lot of money if each of them don't have a straightforward system. So I think for me, a bigger conversation is then how do we and maybe this is Mr. Platform Guy, how do we automate across so that then, and I see Mark, Mr. DNS man, maybe this is something your system can have, that then, as I'm receiving money, and I like what you used as your hotel example, as I'm receiving money, since the amount of money that needs to be paid to the registry is constant, if then that can also be automated, so that then the registrar never feels a pinch having to keep on, first you have so many wallets with so many registries, and you have to keep track of like, crap, can I now accept, 20 domains from X? So I don't know. That's the headache. So both hats in that sense. I won't try and solve it from the registry perspective because that's pretty much clear. I doubt any of the registries here has had a more. I think we tried credit a while back. It came and beat us in the bud.
So what I'm hearing, Kariba, and
Yes.
that question to the answer to my brother's question is simply this, and you guys can correct me. This issue of payment to the registry is not a payment gateway conversation. It's a policy conversation.
No. It's a payment gateway conversation.
Abdallah, do you agree with me?
It's a payment.
You have a burning issue. Talk to me, my brother.
Thank you. I think we are bringing two issues. ccTLDs are a little bit complicated. And we are mixing tech issues and policy issues. That's the problem. So we are trying to treat malaria and diabetes with the same medicine. So, policy. Mark, in every meeting, he asks me why keNIC says you have to have physical presence. That's a policy issue, because there are registrars here who think they should have one office maybe in Ghana and trade with all ccTLDs. So that's a policy issue, because every ccTLD has its policy. There are ones which agree international registrars. There are those ones which require physical presence. So I think the idea in the morning where we should have a working group to work across these things, because most of these things need board decisions of various registries. So we can have one template of what we need, then each registrar CEO goes to their board, seeks ratification. Then a good number who have got ratification will move forward. I think the technical part is not difficult. He has all the solutions. It is the policy part, because someone is afraid of keeping deposits all across, and also there's that physical presence, if I've understood the problem in the room right.
I think, Abdallah, what you've said sort of cements what I'm thinking in my mind. But I'll come to you in 1 minute. And when Bob, I'll also come back to you in 1 minute. Bob, I'll come back to you in 1 minute. Now, here's the thing. The payment gateway issue, please follow me clearly. The payment gateway issue to your end customer, whether you are in Timbuktu or Kenya or London, is an easy conversation to have. Because that guy, on an online perspective, is very clear. You pay me cash, whether it's using PesaPa, PayPal, Ndugupal, wherever. You pay, then you get your domain. Are we together? Are we together on that one? The conversation between a registrar and a registry are 52 different conversations in Africa. Or is it how many African countries? 54. I've just removed 2 countries from the African continent. My apologies for that. There are 54 different conversations. Are you saying we can't handle that conversation here? That's why I'm saying it's a policy issue. So I am happy. Where is Barak? Barak can take a lead on this. Abibu.
I agree with you about the policy issue, but at some point, we need to make some assumptions so that we move forward. Even if internally for the local registrars, the registry needs a payment gateway instead of dealing with every service provider in terms of payments. We need to agree on that, right? And we need to assume that it is possible for a registrar in Kenya, say, to register domains in Tanzania. Once we make that assumption, then we can move forward to the solution. And then we find out which countries you can make cross payments. And the solution will be there. But if we start thinking that it's not possible, then we won't be able to think of a solution. So we need to make an assumption, leave the policy aside, and then maybe in 2-3 years time, maybe we'll be in a position that that policy doesn't hold.
That's a very, very good suggestion, Abibu, and I would agree with you. But to the extent that this session today is on a payment gateway session, we've had this conversation. It's a good conversation. It's a good start. What I would suggest is if this group is when this group, I'll hate to use the word if because that means that it may or it may not. When this group is formed, we can address these issues. Bob, you had a pressing matter. You sure? Oh, he's responded it. Great. Mishuki?
Thank you, Chair. So I think we need to also appreciate the fact that there is a hierarchy to this process. And the hierarchy means that it starts at the national level. So what keNIC has successfully been able, well, maybe successful is a more complete word than it is, but what keNIC has been able to implement means that there is some sort of integration of the payment solution between the registry and the registrar. Yes, the registry and the registrar. So that part is working. To scale it beyond Kenya, it means that every other registry in the continent needs to do this likewise. And then, before you start crossing borders, because when you start crossing borders, what that means is I am just talking to the payment gateway provider that is serving that registry and adding them to my registry, and I can support everybody from that country or every registrar from that country. And so you'll just keep on piling the number of payment gateway providers. And perhaps, maybe in that process, there will be one payment gateway provider who will be ahead of the game and will be serving most of those registries. And maybe I just need to talk to one to cover all the 53 other countries that I am not operating. So the point is hierarchical, meaning start at the national level. Is it working? If it's working, then it makes it easier to go to the next phase. But if you try to start from the top down, it will be difficult. That's my view.
Before you go there, I think I want what my brother Michuki has said is very important. You know, to Abibu's point, we have to start somewhere, and this conversation is very important. So, the keNIC issue and the keNIC historical experience, what you guys have gone through. I want to ask a question, Kariba and maybe Abdallah. When was this implemented? When was this payment gateway, this integration, APIs for registrars, when was it finally implemented? About 5 years ago, so that's 2012. So it took 6 years, and I'm saying this because I've got some historical background on this. I used to be a director at keNIC, and I served 2 terms. When I finished my 2 terms, that was 2012. Which means this conversation started when? 6 years. So my I know we're not, I mean, we're sort of moving beyond the payment conversation, but it's an important conversation to have. So, thing is this, we are all registries and registrars here across Africa. Please, do not take 6 years. Can you just take the learnings from keNIC and wherever else, and South Africa, and shorten the period to 6 months? Yes. Are we together, guys? Yes. All right, thanks. Yes, sir. Now, we have another 10 minutes. So, apart from the two gentlemen, I have not seen a lady stand up. And I'm going to get in trouble in Nairobi because I'm seeing there are only men on this panel. You know what we call them in Nairobi? Manels. So I'm going to be in trouble because this thing is live. So can we have some ladies talk to us, please? And it's not tokenism. It's just fact. And whoever, Barack, I think, please take note. We don't want Manels next time. Yes, sir.
So can I change to be a lady? Okay, so what Michuki talked about is what the registries are suffering from. And I think that the registries have already crossed the international boundaries. So for my registry, I deal with 50, 60 registrars from across the world, from Malawi and from other countries. Each of those may have their own payment gateway. And that money from those payment gateways have to get into my account in Malawi at some point. So am I going to have another payment gateway in the hierarchy? I think this is the issue. The issue is multiplicity across boundaries. The issue that is being talked about Kenya is a national issue with a national payment gateway. I think that's a simplified situation of what the registries actually face. They face a multiple situation, multiple hierarchy across many payment gateways in different countries. That money has to get to the registry in my National Bank of Malawi account. And in between that bank and the payment registry sits the Reserve Bank of Malawi.
Thank you for that. Yes, Mark.
Mark Elkins here again. To me, there's two ways to solve the problem. The first one isn't probably the preferred way, but it's what I'm doing at the moment. I don't have 20... Okay, I am wearing my registrar hat. I have customers coming to me through my own local payment gateway, and now I want to sell them, and I want to complete the domain purchase on their behalf. Totally automated, I'm not even there when it happens. So for co.za, that's really simple. I can put down a minimum of 1,000 Rand, that's about $77 at the moment. So $77 is not a lot of money, and that will buy me about 18.co.zas. They're about $4.20 each. So I put that money down as a float, and people come in and they spend the money. No problem. The money gets a bit low, and I do another transfer. That's really easy, because co.za is where the bulk of my customers go to. I also like to think that I have a relationship with a few other ccTLDs, but my spend there is next to nothing in comparison to what I do locally. So I've gone on bended knee and begged, etc., and those people have given me a credit in value of about 1 or 2 domains. So it's not a huge amount, but it means that the whole automated process can happen. So the risk is low, 1 or 2 domains. If I actually spend that money, then I've undertaken to make sure that money goes through to them. So that is one scenario that could happen. If I change my hats now as a registry hat, the other possible solution from my point of view is if the registries actually had contracts between them, handshakes between them, they could take the money from someone who's registering the domain, someone that is already accredited with them, a local registrar, and they could then provide that credit against, on behalf of the other ccTLD. And if all ccTLDs did that, I don't think it would be a huge amount of money or anything, but it means that money wouldn't actually have to pass hands. Because potentially someone, if I'm trying to sell a Kenyan domain, if I could please, then you saw what I did, okay. So a customer comes to me, they want to buy a Kenyan domain, they go through the whole process, I contact the Kenyan system to actually get the domain done, and they effectively bill the ZACR system because they know where I come from. So ZACR system takes the money from my account and they mark that as that's money for Kenya, and it sits there. Then someone from Kenya wants to buy a co.za, and they go, they contact the co.za system, they do the actual EPP transition. Kenya sees that, ZACR sees that this is a Kenyan, and they go back and they effectively debit the account, the floating account that that registrar has in Kenya. And if there are, and you then take one value away from the other, so the credit on one side will drop completely, etc., and there'll be maybe an outstanding amount, or maybe both accounts wipe out each other. So no money moves hands, no banks are involved, and everyone gets the money, and the banks loses the commission. And I think this is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. As an elegant solution. Thank you. I will take one more. I'll take two more questions or comments, but just from ladies. That is the caveat. Just from ladies. Thank you. Thank you, my dear sister. One more lady to line up behind her.
I'm Pamela, a lecturer from the Institute of Accountancy, Arusha. Before you even said this, I noticed it since morning. There were no ladies in front. And that was really
Manels.
Yeah. So I don't have much to contribute, as much of what is being discussed is a bit new to me. But really, I wanted to give a signature that we are also in here. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question? Yes. No. Professor Nee he's allowed. He's allowed to bulldoze. You're not a lady. Don't worry. You can talk.
I'm appealing. I'll borrow the time from her. I think this issue was raised about 5 years ago in a paper at ICANN website. And it addresses not only the problem of payments between registrars and the 1,000 registries that have emerged, but it also addresses the EPP problem, the technical problem. It's the same problem, really, different flavors of it. So it might pay for some of you to study that, because what you seem to need is to have an account of sorts that is known to the registries. Okay?
You see, Professor Nee, what I mean about institutional memory.
It's about an account that is associated with a registrar, but is accessible to all the registries. So as you spend in the registry, they debit that account, so that when the account depletes, then you can't do anymore. But it doesn't affect any other registrars. Okay, theirs will still go through. So it's kind of a protocol implication of sorts. And it's the same thing with EPP. I don't want to establish EPP connection with 10,000 registries. I just want to establish one who then does it for me somehow. So I thought I would share that.
Thank you so much. Is it possible to get a link to that? Maybe from Prof or from Bob? Thanks, Bob.
I'm just here to say that you're now standing between us and tea.
Spoken like a true African man. Okay, it's 3:30 on the dot, so we can break for tea. I think we come back after how long? 30 minutes? Okay. Thank you very much for listening, for having a great conversation around this. Bye.